When you're thinking about starting your own business, or even if you're just thinking about starting a blog or an inspirational Instagram, or maybe you're thinking about a podcast, any kind of way where you're kind of coming out of your shell and you have to put yourself out there. That was one of the hardest things for me to get past when I started my blog. But then once I got comfortable with writing, I was like, okay, I can do this. But then it was like, now I have to do videos. And I'm like, ugh. And we were just talking about that earlier. I'm talking about how I need to do more Instagram live videos. And it's difficult for me because I don't like to be on video, but also it's difficult to put myself out there and to be seen. How do you get past all of that? How do you work through that?
Yeah, such a good question. And I think this is like the major one, probably the biggest one that holds people back, I think, that and perfectionism. So we'll get to that in a sec, because I know INFJs, that's one of their strengths and weaknesses, is what I like to say, not just a weakness. So there's a few things. So the way I think of it is like, okay, let me share a little story. When I first came out as a life coach, or as a relationship coach, technically, because it was my niche, it was a big deal for me, because I was like scared of what everyone would think of me. I was scared of judgment. I was scared of people learning about my story, because I'd gone through like this abusive relationship, nothing physical or sexual, but definitely emotionally abusive, mentally and spiritually and all this sort of stuff, right? I was mistreated and didn't really know at the time. I talk about it on my podcast, for another day. It's a long story. But for me, actually feeling like I had the confidence to step out of my little shell and dip my toes in the water, the day that I did that was a big day for me. And I was really proud that I did do it. However, and I should say 99% of the people that saw what I was doing was very supportive and commended me and my bravery to do it and blah, blah, blah. And so that felt really great. However, before that was all fully received, I got this scathing message from a psychologist over Instagram. And at the time, I didn't really understand about triggering. Like, I didn't understand that if that person's triggered by something, it's actually there's something going on within them. It's not actually got anything to do with you, right? Yeah. Didn't never understand that. So I took this really personally. And I definitely have always considered and been told by the people that I'm sensitive, which I used to think was a bad thing, but I don't anymore. Because I've worked through that. So this psychologist sent me these written messages, and I've kept them, and I will share them one day. In fact, I probably should share them this year in my group, because it's actually a really good example of not letting things or someone's opinion hold you back, right? So I'd spent 6 months building up to the point like, yep, I'm going to be a relationship coach. Yes, I'm going to be niching in narcissism and helping codependent women that have been abused. Yes, I'm going to put myself out there, share my story, and come what may, sort of thing. I knew that they'd be good and bad, because I'd seen other people ahead of me be attacked by trolls, attacked by, people that were triggered by them, even friends and family that didn't really agree with what they were doing. So I knew that was eventually going to come my way at some stage, but I did not expect it so early on, because I literally received that message within, I think it was like 48 to 72 hours. Wow. And it went on and it went on and it went on. And she attacked me personally, basically saying that I had no ethics, saying that I was a horrible person for becoming a coach when it's got no grounds, how people with, this sort of situation should only ever go to a therapist, how I was uneducated, how I was dumb, how I was tricking people for money, like the lowest of the lowest below the belt comments. And I remember I got that message that night. I was in my room, actually, where I am now. And I was absolutely like blown away. And for a moment there, I was like, well, shit, I've done the wrong thing. Like, who am I to be doing this? That whole imposter syndrome comes up. Right. And I'm like, maybe she's right. Do you know what I mean? Maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe this is a sign from the universe. Like, all these things went through my mind. And I reached out to one of my coaching trainers who I was Facebook friends with. And I said to her, I was like, this is a message I've received. I don't know if I'm meant to be doing this anymore, because I don't think I can kind of handle this sort of criticism. And she coached me through it, which was really lovely of her. She was like, you do realize that this has actually got nothing to do with you. This is that person's own perception of what a coach is and what they do. And she's obviously had a negative experience. Yeah, so I was extremely offended. I was literally at that T intersection of like, what do I choose to do from here? Do I shut myself down, crawl back into my shell and live a very small, life because of fear of other people not totally agreeing. And plus I was a big people pleaser too. So having one person out of having 99% of people being positive and supporting me, I was overlooking that because of the 1% horrible message that I got from someone I didn't even know, who didn't even know who I was or my ethics and values were, who didn't even know what my intentions were, my visions for helping people.
Yeah.
It was like this close to literally crawling back in my shell and choosing a different direction. But because I'd done some mindset work, I had to really remind myself of that and overcome and work through that sort of limiting belief. I had to realize, okay, cool. So this psychologist has got a limiting belief going on, and her limiting belief was that coaches can't help women from narcissistic relationships. And I was like, well, that's bullshit, because I worked through my narcissistic relationship and my abuse, and I never used a therapist, and I'm on the other side. And if I can do it, other people can do it. And that was without any help. So I was like, well, if I can be a coach and help people in that way who don't feel the need for a psychologist, then I can absolutely do that. And it's just one person's opinion out of, 100. So, be what may. If that's how she feels, that's okay. Like, I don't have to not do what I want to do just because of one person. And it was a really good lesson, because I learned that you can't people please your way through life or through business, and you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. Not everyone's going to agree with you, and that's okay. And even if I did crawl back into my shell, it's like people would probably criticize me for that as well. Do you know what I mean? So
right.
you just have to win.
Yes.
So you've got to kind of listen to your own intuition and recenter yourself and realize, okay, that person was triggered because of their own triggers. Like, I didn't do anything. I didn't actively go out of my way to hurt that person. My intentions were always pure, and she reached out to me and found me and then sent that to me. And I made a decision that I would never criticize someone who was wanting to step out and do something like that, ever. Do you know what I mean? And the people that are ahead of you will never come back and criticize you, or they shouldn't anyway, because they know the road of actually having to put themselves out there and what that's like. And the fact that you do it is like hugely commendable. Yeah. Like, it's a big deal. So if someone comes down hard on you, they obviously haven't done that themselves, because if they had, they wouldn't be imposing all of their limiting beliefs and negative views on you like that. So in terms of putting yourself out there, there's a lot of fear around this particular thing. It's fear of judgment from others. It's fear of being seen. It's easier for INFJs, because they're an introvert, to kind of to slink away from the spotlight and just do the behind the scenes stuff, But when you run your business, and it depends what business you've got. Like, if you've got an Etsy store and you're just selling products, you don't necessarily have to show your face, and that might be something that someone might prefer. But if you're like an online coach, or something where you are the service, it's really important to promote yourself. And it feels a bit weird at the beginning, because you're so not used to doing that. It's like when you have a job interview and you've got to sell yourself, it just doesn't feel comfortable.
Right.
But it's realizing that you can do it your own way. You don't have to do it the way that all the other extroverts are doing it. You don't have to do it the way that other people are doing it. You can pick and choose what feels right for you, but at the same time, there's a difference between letting fear stop you and paralyze you and get in the way, as opposed to just figuring out what your style is. So that's a big one. What's the other thing? So fear of not being accepted and belonging, that's also another fear that everyone has. But once again, like, I found that when I got out of my own way and worked on my mindset and worked through my confidence issues and all that sort of stuff, that's when I felt like the world became my oyster and things started to open up. And if you don't put yourself out there, no one knows about your offer online. Like, if you've got an online business and you are the service, and even if you sell a product, no one's going to know about it until you put it out there. And I'm big on attraction marketing, right? Like, that's my number one thing. I love attraction marketing because, and I believe in karma as well, and signs in the universe and all that energetic exchange stuff. So it's like, if you put your stuff out there, people can see it, they can buy it, they can hire you, they can relate to you. They don't have to buy off you. They can just follow you and connect with you. And if don't do that, they'll never get what they need or want. And so a big thing as well is realizing that as an INFJ, we're the rarest of the personality types, right? So we actually have gifts that the world needs, that other people need from us. And by keeping ourselves small and hidden away, it's like little bits of treasure that you're keeping. It's kind of like you could have, okay, I'm really like just flying by the seat of my pants here, but it's like, think about some treasure that's been found, and they go put it in a museum, and the whole world can enjoy that treasure. They can travel there, they can look at it, they can touch it, feel it, take photos with it, whatever, right? But if that treasure never gets found and stays hidden away, the whole world gets like misses out on that, you know. And I know it's like, who cares, it's treasure, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's like,
right, yeah,
personalities, because they're rare, like that should be more of a reason to bring us out, not have us hidden away or ignored or, you know, behind the scenes all the time. Like I feel like for me as an INFJ or ENFJ, whatever floats my boat that day, really, it's like it has to be a conscious choice to be seen every day, because it doesn't come naturally to me. And once you work through those confidence things, because there's a difference, there really is a difference between like, so in terms of being comfortable, if we're stuck in our comfort zone, we limit our life. Whereas if we expand our discomfort zone, then we become more comfortable with that. So it's kind of like when you go to drive a car, you didn't feel like you were capable, you didn't know how to do it, you're not sure if you could, but once you actually started practicing and got the go of it and got your learners and your Ps, I don't know how it works over there in America, but once you got all that and you worked up those levels, you got your full license. And now you can drive a car with your eyes closed. It's not such a big deal. It's more automatic. And it's the same thing when you put yourself out online. Like I try to show up on my Instagram live nearly every day and show my face, because I know it connects with audiences more. There's evidence shown by social media marketers that they have a better conversion rate when you are connecting with your audience with your face and not just words. And not everyone is learning the same way. We've got visual learners, we've got auditory learners, kinesthetic learners, and audio digital. So if you can cater to all of those type of INFJs, or, you know, whatever your customers and clients are, you have a bigger conversion rate for not just connecting, but potentially selling as well.